This video is brought to you by Sailrite. In this video, we'll show you how to install Lifeline netting to your boat. This knotted safety line netting provides more security for family, friends, pets, and equipment. This heavy-duty netting is constructed from DuPont 36-pound twisted nylon twine and contains UV inhibitors to promote longer life and prevent rotting. It's sold by the foot from Sailrite. To determine how much Lifeline netting and leechline is required, you need to take measurements around your boat. Here you can see that our netting is already installed, but Angela is showing how she took the measurements. Our boat has 2 gate openings, so we will install 2 separate sections of netting, shown in green and orange. We will need to take measurements around the boat for both those sections of netting. Using those measurements, we now need to calculate how much Lifeline netting and leechline rope is required. You may want to pause the video here to study these formulas and calculate the amount for your particular boat. Here are the materials and tools that we use to install this Lifeline netting. At the end of this video, we'll be showing this list yet again. After receiving all your supplies from Sailrite, you should be ready to install the Lifeline netting to your boat. We're going to walk you through the process step by step. First, cut the netting to the correct size for each span. Remember to multiply the amount of netting required by 1.35, which will result in a length that is 35% longer than the span to be covered. Our netting will accommodate a leech line along the top edge and one along the bottom edge. For the bottom edge, we need to cut the leech line to the span size plus 25%. So multiply the span opening by 1.25, then cut the line to that length. Now run the leech line along the bottom edge of the netting, weaving it in and out. Both edges of the netting are the same, so pick one to be the bottom edge. This weaving process is very monotonous, so be patient. Notice that the long edges of the Sailrite Lifeline netting have a double cord, which improves its strength. We've only shown a short clip of the weaving process. At this starting end, we want a few feet of leech line to protrude out from the netting. We just need enough to tie it off at the first stanchion pole base. To prepare for installation, we need to drape the netting over the Lifeline's top cable, as shown in the video. We will do this along the entire span where it will be installed. As you may already have noticed, we've already installed the netting on the stern portion of the boat. We're starting here at the gate opening and working to secure the netting going to the bow, then back to the gate opening on the port side of the boat now. Using zip ties or cable ties are often helpful to keep the netting at the correct location as you weave it in place with the leech line. Angela is not using the same leech line that was used for the bottom of this netting. This is a new run of leech line. We will not cut it to size. Use this line to weave the netting to the pole. Then, when we reach the bottom of the stanchion pole, we will tie off the line. We're going to demonstrate one way to attach the netting to the pole, but there are several other ways it can be done. So if you prefer an alternative method, feel free to use yours instead. We are opening up each diamond along the edge of the netting, wrapping it around the pole, and then securing it by running the leech line through the diamond, and then moving on to the next diamond. We will continue this process until we reach the lowest diamond along the bottom edge of the netting. A little bit later on, we'll use a hot knife to burn the excess netting cords that were cut. This will help to secure each of the netting knots to keep them from coming undone. As you weave the netting to the pole, try to gauge the appropriate location where the netting will rest along the pole. What we're trying to achieve is a diamond shape roughly 2 inches by 2 inches if the height of the lifeline is about 24 inches. If it's less, you can expect the diamonds to be slightly elongated. We will discuss this in more detail a little bit later on in this video. We're going to show this in double time because the process is the same all the way down to the stanchion base. Angela is not too concerned about the shapes of the diamond yet. She will be when it comes time to secure the leech line at each stanchion base. However, you do have to be a little bit concerned about where the leech line will cross over the middle wire. So try to gauge which diamond will eventually land at the lower lifeline wire location, then weave the leech line through. Here we are at the last diamond. We're going to remove this hook that was used to secure the bottom portion of the stern's netting, which was already installed, just so you can see what we're doing better. Now we will lash the line to the stanchion base using a clove hitch with additional half hitches. If you have a knot of preference, please feel free to use it instead. Pass the line around the base, forming a loop. Then pass the tail through the loop and repeat with additional half hitches for security. Once the knot is finished, we will cut the rope end with a hot knife, leaving about an 1/8 inch of rope. Then with the hot knife we will melt the end of the rope to create a flat button, which makes it difficult for the end of the rope to pass back through any loops. We're using the Sailrite Edge hot knife here. As discussed previously, to secure each of the knots along the cut edge of the netting, we will use the hot knife and cut the line to about an 1/8 inch again. Then melt the end of the line to create a small button, again making it difficult for the knot to come undone. Do this carefully so that you don't burn the netting or the leech line in places that you don't intend. Take the leech line at the top and weave it along the top edge of the netting and lifeline cable to the next stanchion pole. Our application for this Islander 37 sailboat has over 65 feet of line that needs to be weaved through the netting and over the lifeline cable, so we will have to pass the length of the line through each of the diamonds over and over again. Another long and boring job, but at least it's an easy one. We skipped over the parts where Angela is pulling the long length of line through each diamond, so as not to bore you, our viewer. Once we reach the next stanchion pole, we will stop and temporarily tie the upper leech line to the pole or the lifeline cable. We'll not show that. Then, before you secure the lower leech line to the stanchion base there, go back to the starting point and secure the end of the lower leech line to that stanchion base. Do that by creating another clove hitch with additional half hitches. Having a good hot knife like this Sailrite Edge hot knife comes in handy as it heats up in only a few seconds and cools down in about a minute. If you don't have a professional hot knife like this, you can use a wood burning tool or a soldering gun. The netting is now secure at the starting point, so we can now concentrate on creating square diamond shapes approximately 2 inches by 2 inches as we proceed to the next stanchion pole. So, before you secure it at the next base, be sure you're happy with the tensioning of the netting. Tension it to your preference. If it's too tight, you may find your lifeline cables tend to curve or dip as they are under a lot of pressure from the netting. The height of our lifeline on this boat is around 24 inches off the deck, so that's the same height as the netting itself. So our diamond shapes will almost be square. However, if your lifeline netting is less than 24 inches, you can expect the diamond shape to be elongated, and that's totally acceptable. Along the lower edge of the netting, we will tie the leech line around each stanchion base using a separate length of leech line cut to about 3 feet. To do this, we will do the same procedure. Use a clove hitch with additional half hitches. First, we will loop the line around the leech line, then create the clove hitch on one end of the line around the pole. Enough leech line is provided in our previous calculations that you can cut away the opposite end of the top leech line rope to make these approximate 3-foot long lines to tie at each stanchion base. Once that's done, switch to the opposite end of the line and loop it around the front of the pole, and then catch the bottom edge of the leech line on the opposite side. Now create the clove hitch with additional half hitches yet again. We're going to show this in double time since we've shown it once before. Now continue on down the line and repeat that process several times. Simply keep weaving the leech line along the top edge of the netting and lifeline cable to the next pole. Then tie the lower leech line to the stanchion base using a separate length of leech line, and repeat all the way around to the gate or the last pole. Before we get to our gate on the opposite side of the boat, we want to show how we secure the netting around the bow pulpit. This process is the same. A side note, if you prefer, you could use a line and weave around each and every stanchion pole, securing the netting at each. This would make for a very secure netting, but the process is more difficult and thus a choice you need to make yourself. We have chosen not to do this. If you would like to do this, keep watching because we recommend weaving the line around the pole using a candy cane stripe pattern, which is shown when we get to the last gate opening. Before we go all around the bow pulpit, we will tie off the upper line temporarily and then secure the lower line at the base of the pulpit using the separate length of line about 3 feet. Tie it using the same procedure as you've seen earlier, then move on. Sailrite sells a Lifeline hook which can be very helpful for boats where you cannot tie off at the tow rail. We'll be showing this in more detail a little bit later on. We're going to skip ahead and show only brief portions of the weaving process until we get to the other side of the bow pulpit. If your boat's rigging is standing and in the way of the length of netting, you may want to end the netting at the bow pulpit and move around the rigging to the opposite side and start a separate run of netting there. Once we reach the end of the bow pulpit, we will temporarily tie the upper leech line, which we're not going to show, and then secure the lower leech line at the base of each pole. We'll show only one of those. Here we will create a bowline knot around the leech line and then we'll secure it with a clove hitch and additional half hitches. We will show this in double time. Alright, we've already seen enough of this, so let's move on. Our boat has a furling system that is not set up, so we will not cut an opening in our netting to accommodate for it, but rather we will press the drum up against the netting and attach it to the tang. This will not be the case for most boats, as you will not want to remove the gear just to install netting. One of the last chapters in this video, we show how to cut a clean-looking hole in the netting, which is helpful in some applications, but we do not show how to cut a slit in the netting leading up to the hole. If your application calls for that, you will have to splice the netting back together using whipping twine along the slit opening. Many boaters do not run netting around the bow pulpit, but end it along the sides. The choice is yours. If you find you need to secure the lower line at more locations than just the stanchion bases, and your tow rail does not include areas where lines may be attached, you may want to opt to use the Lifeline hooks from Sailrite. Our tow rail is teak, and we will pre-drill holes not shown and screw them in at locations where we believe we need a little more security or tensioning. If you choose, you can even bend the hook down to secure the line even better. We're not going to show doing this. If your boat does not have a gate opening, simply secure the netting at the last stanchion pole with your leech line, as done in step 4. If your gate has an opening, stop weaving the top leech line at the gate pole as we've done here. Now use cable ties to temporarily secure the netting across the gate opening. Also, temporarily tie the lower leech line to the stanchion base that's across the gate opening. Then secure the lower line at the first gate pole with a cable tie. This too will be temporary, as it is used to keep the tension you desire while weaving. Using the top leech line at the first gate pole, weave the netting along the vertical length of the pole. However, this time we will use the line and cross around the pole as a candy cane stripe, catching the netting while doing this. This creates a clean, simple attachment to the pole, allowing the netting to continue on past the gate opening. If you desire to secure the netting at each and every stanchion pole, you can do it in this manner for best results. When we get to the base at the bottom, we will clip off any cable ties, and then we'll tie the line to that base as we did elsewhere. We will not show tying it off. We want the netting to drape across the gate opening in a pleasing manner, so use more cable ties to draw it up tight if needed. Once you're happy, release the temporary knot securing the lower leech line to the base. We will secure a hook at this point so we can draw the bottom of the netting tight across the gate opening while still allowing us to open up the netting for access. The appropriate location of the hook is determined by the gate's pelican hook location. We will be cutting the extra netting off along a vertical plane that lies directly in line with our pelican hooks. Angela has determined that this is the location she wants to install her hook, so she passes the line around the netting first. Then she will attach the hook at that location. This is the lower leech line. Do not cut away the extra length of line yet. We will need it to go vertical to the top and then across to the first gate pole. Then we'll tie it off there. Install the hook as shown here in the video, or if you prefer another way, feel free to do it. Attach the hook to the stanchion base and then run the line up through the netting, keeping the line along the same plane as the pelican hooks. We will be using a shackle to secure the leech line at a position on the pelican hook, or if you prefer, you could use pre-waxed twine to secure the line onto each pelican hook. You must attach it to a location on the hook that will not interfere with the operation of the pelican hook. Before attaching the line and the netting to the pelican hooks, Angela is going to continue to weave the line at the top through the netting and around the lifeline cable until she reaches the first gate pole. Notice that we have a lot of extra line, even after cutting many short links off to tie off each stanchion base. Now she will use these shackles which fit the pelican hooks that Sailrite sells. Your pelican hooks may be different, so you might want to use pre-waxed twine or a different size shackle if required. Now we will do this to the second pelican hook below. Where we are placing the shackle will not interfere with the hook's operation. That's important. Next, to keep the netting up against the leech line that runs vertically, we will use pre-waxed twine and a hand needle and whip around the netting knots and the leech line. A knot has been made to the end of the waxed twine. Take the needle and puncture the netting knot or the line by the knot, and then whip around the netting knot and leech line. Whip around several times. Then puncture the whipping with the needle and cut the twine, leaving about an 1/8 inch of twine. After we are done whipping each knot, we will come back and burn the end of the waxed twine to create a flat button on the end of the twine. After that, tie off the top leech line at the gate pole. Then trim all loose ends of the netting, leech line, and any whipping twine with a hot knife. Cut away any cable ties that are no longer needed. Along the vertical end of the netting, we will cut the excess netting off and clean up our whipping with a hot knife. Let's open up the gate and show you how it works. That completes the process of installing the Lifeline netting that is sold by Sailrite. Stay tuned, because in the next chapter we're going to demonstrate the best way we know of to create an opening in the netting for obstacles. Here we have secured a sample section of netting to the Islander 37 trailer. We found that the easiest way to cut a hole is to follow the diamond shape of the netting. So here we're going to cut away 4 diamonds at each leg. Notice that we cut the line, leaving about 1/8 inch of the line in place. Now, before we run a length of leech line along the opening, we will use the Sailrite Edge hot knife to burn the ends of the line and create a small flat button, yet again, at each knot. The netting as it is now, it's rather secure, but we wanted to beef it up slightly, so we will run a length of leech line along the opening, weaving it around the netting as we go. We will start at the top and tie a temporary knot there. Other methods include using whipping twine and whipping around the netting and the leech line. That's if you prefer. When we get to the top again, we will remove the knot, tension the rope, and tie it off permanently, and then burn the ends of the line. This creates a nice looking hole in the netting, and it's also very secure. If you have to cut a slit leading to the hole to allow passage for an immovable object, you will need to use whipping twine and tie up the slit after the netting is placed around the object. This process would have to be performed as you are weaving the top leech line around the Lifeline wire or tubing, so the leech line, would not need to be cut when creating the slit in the netting. We will not show creating a slit in the netting. Our Lifeline netting is now installed all around our boat, and at each gate opening we have a fairly easy way to still provide safety netting and also allow for passage. The processes in this video are suggestions only. Many other techniques may also be explored for the installation of safety netting. Stay tuned for a materials list of the items and tools that we use to install this Lifeline netting from Sailrite. We used a 5-ply waxed flat twine in this video, but if you prefer, you could use a larger polyester whipping twine, item 102576 from Sailrite. The netting and most of the supplies for this project can easily be ordered from Sailrite. For more free videos like this, be sure to check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. I'm Eric Grant, and from all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching this video. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos possible. Thanks for your loyal support.